Hey guys, I'm IzDaisho and I'm here bringing you some magic. And today I'm going to be giving you a draft, which is not the normal draft. It's not just whatever format's in standard or people are running these days, which is M14, but it is actually a twisted draft, or a grab bag draft as some call it, which basically just means that we got 24 different packs, and they're going to be in the annotation, and maybe I'll link a picture on my Facebook or something like that to show you the packs that we drafted. And so there are 24 different packs, and each person gets randomly assigned 3 of them, and it was really fun. I mean, there were a lot of them from recent sets, so there are going to be some cards that I remember, but a lot of them are also from before I even started playing. So yeah, anyway, my first pack, I mean, I have to read all these cards. It's Morning Tide. I played Morning Tide, like, I think I drafted it once. And no, I haven't. I never even played this set. I played Shadowmoor, Eventide, or something like that, maybe? I don't know. Interestingly enough, I get Morning Tide and Eventide that I get to open, but not really too big of a deal. I think I also get to open 5th Dawn. But, I mean, whatever pack you open isn't such a big deal, except for the one person who got to open the Modern Masters pack, except he didn't end up opening any money cards, so, I don't know, it was pretty interesting. So, in my first pack, I just showed the card that I ended up choosing. I had to read it for a while, and it's pretty funny because I think I misread it, and I thought that it was talking about, hopefully you read it when I left it up on screen for about 10 seconds, I think. But anyway, it just basically says 4 mana sorcery, however much damage you dealt this turn, you get that many 1/1 flyers. And then it's got a prowl cost for 5 and a blue, and if you dealt damage with a rogue this turn, then you get to take another turn after this one, so that's kind of insane. But anyway, it took me a couple of minutes to finally make that pick, just because it was really hard to decide if that was the card that I wanted or if there was something else. I don't think that there was anything else particularly powerful in the pack, so I just went for it, and hopefully I can pick up some rogues and get a nice little deck and get some cool stuff going on there, because rogue isn't really like only in one block or anything. It's kind of just a creature type that is around all of Magic, so it's not impossible to find a couple more rogues to hopefully activate it. But I'm just going to take a value card here. I'm going to take Train of Thought. I really like playing draw cards, and I feel like just for a 4 mana a divination, it's fine. And if I can draw more cards, then that's sweet. But it's basically 1 and a blue and replicate, so you just draw however many cards for however much 1 blue you have. And yeah, I mean, maybe Hypervolt Grasp was better, but I decided to stay in blue, and I even thought of taking the Signet. I like the Bloodthirsty guy, I think, too. I'm not really sure how good he is, but anyway, I just decided to take this card, stay in color, and it seems like a good card that would be pretty good in Twisted Draft, because, I mean, there are one of 2 things that can happen. My opponent is either going to have an insane deck and find these crazy synergies between formats, or it's going to be like a kind of a hodgepodge of cards, and that's more likely. You're playing some creatures, some removal spells, and basically just a standard draft deck without a lot of the synergies. And in those kind of things, it often just goes late, and drawing 4 cards can often be the difference between winning and not winning. But anyway, this is a Mirrodin pack, and I see one of the artifact lands, and I kind of just glance over it, but you guys will see in a couple of seconds why that's relevant. So I'm just like reading all the cards, and then I'm like, hey, I recognize this card. This is Bone Splitter. And man, this card's awesome. I mean, just a 1 mana equipment, equip for 1. This isn't even the Modern Masters pack. That one's coming up right now. But Bone Splitter's a sweet card, so very happy to just grab that up right there. And then here comes the Modern Masters pack, so I'm still pretty happy to be in blue, and there's a lot of blue cards in this pack. And I mean, there is a Giant Dust Wasp, and that was really a thought. I mean, just that card is really powerful in general, and getting one in this draft might be pretty sweet. But I think I just want to stay in color and just see what comes to me, and if I can get something else that way, then that'll be good. I end up, like, there's also a Spell Bomb here, which is okay. It's really good if you can take advantage of it, but I mean, it's hard to be able to tell if I'll get some good cards to take advantage of it. And recurred or whatever. But in the end, I just grab a Fairy Mechanist. I mean, at the very worst, it's a 2/2 flyer for 4, and it'll hit my opponent for some damage, and at its best, it can draw me a card when it enters the battlefield. And I figured that there's plenty of time to pick up some artifacts. I already picked up a Bone Splitter, so yeah, here's an M14 pack, and I was like, oh, I know what to do here. Take the blue card. So I don't know. There's like a Cancel in here, a Giant Growth, and then there's Marauding Maulhorn. I really was considering taking it, but then I saw the Claustrophobia, and I mean, this card is just removal in blue, and I am already wanting to be in blue, so yeah. I mean, I didn't really need to commit to blue, but I kept seeing some blue cards that were pretty decent, so I figured that I may as well go for it. So now I'm reading the Gremlin Mine. It deals damage to artifact creatures or something like that. This is a new Phyrexia pack, and I really don't think that there was anything in here that was even remotely playable. I think I just ended up taking. See, we were in. I'm just doing this draft with my buddies, so we weren't taking it so seriously. It wasn't a GP or anything. So we were kind of chatting. We were still keeping all the information secret because it gets to a certain point where it's just no longer fun if everybody knows everything, and if you tell the person what colors you're next to you are in, then that's kind of just cheating and not really fun. But yeah, after that whole little tangent, I don't even know what I was trying to say. I think that the person next to me was just looking at the pack, and he's like, this pack is just really mediocre. There's nothing even good in it. And after looking at the pack myself for I don't know, a good minute or two, probably about a minute, I came to the same realization, and I just ended up taking the red card, which is a 6 mana 6/4. Because I figured, I mean, you never know. Maybe I'll just want to play a giant creature and start beating down. And at least this thing has a role in a deck. It's the top end. It's just a big creature. It can beat people. I'm playing blue, so maybe I'll be able to pick up some bounce spells, and that would work out pretty well for me. But yeah, I mean, that was definitely an okay pick. So here we got Scars of Mirrodin. So looks like a lot of the artifact packs were right in a row, which made people kind of want to play artifact decks, which is interesting because there weren't that many artifact packs in the later sets. So yeah, I'm looking at this pack here, and I cannot for the life of me. Oh yeah, there's just again nothing in this pack that I really want to take. I don't remember what that red card does, sorry, but I mean there's Exsanguinate, which one of my least favorite cards ever. But yeah, I think I just take a Mirror Galvanizer as a 3 mana 2/2, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll be able to pick up a Mirror later or something like that, but not really too useful. So here's Shards of Alara. I've never really played with this set at all. I mean, like, I've seen a couple of cards in it, but yeah, there's Magefire Wings, which is a blue-red for enchanted creature, gets +2/+0 and flying it's an enchantment. It's not until end of turn. So it's like a combination of Pursuit of Flight and Spectral Flight, but instead it doesn't pump the toughness. But I don't think I take it here, do I? Maybe I do. Yeah, alright, there we go, Magefire Wings. I thought I took it later, but I guess, yeah, it wouldn't have tabled from here. That would have been like the last card in the pack, but it was like 7th or 8th or something like that. It was 8th, okay, because this is my original pack coming back, and there's a Disperse in it, and Disperse isn't insane. I see this black card, which is a rogue, and jumping into rogues wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if I could play black, because I really don't have a second color. I just took that giant red card because there's nothing else in the pack, so I could definitely take any color card at this point in the draft. But you know what, I just decide to go ahead and take the Disperse. I mean, just a bounce spell can't really hurt. I mean, it's playable in any deck. Not necessarily great, but anyway, I already picked up a red card, so seeing this Hypervolt Grasp come back is pretty sweet. There are some other decent blue cards in here, but I mean, this thing it just seems really good because you can just turn your creature into a pinger, and if they're trying to 2-for-1 you, if you can leave mana up, that'll be great. But here I'm just looking at this pack, and I was like, I don't know, take the Molten Rain. Maybe somebody's gonna be playing like a silly 3-color deck or something like that. But then I remembered that I picked up a Fairy Mechanist earlier, so I could just grab this Great Furnace, and if I do end up playing red, then it's just basically a mountain that I can just fetch or find. I can use as a target for my silly card, my Fairy Mechanist. But anyway, the Modern Masters pack comes back, and 3 of these cards are actually playable. I mean, the Research is good, draw 2, sacrifice a permanent. The Traumatic Visions is what I ended up going with, and that's really good, especially if I want to play a 3rd color. And then even the Deadeye is a pretty good sideboard card. It's a 4 mana 3/3 that when it enters battlefield kills a flyer, and then it has Echo for 6, which isn't great. But yeah, this pack is obviously lost most of its luster by now, just an 8 land. So the thing is, some packs actually have 15 cards in them because like the Dragon's Maze packs have the basic lands are replaced with Guild Gates, so you actually have 15 cards, so you just have to leave the basic lands in the pack, which is kind of annoying, but not that bad. So anyway, open up my Eventide pack, and I think I opened up one of the best cards I possibly could have, other than super expensive cards. But I grab a Dominus of Fealty. And I mean, there's a couple other cards in this pack that I wouldn't be super opposed to playing in my deck, but Dominus of Fealty is just such a powerful card. It's a 5 mana, and all the symbols are hybrid blue-red, and it's a 4/4 flyer, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you can choose target creature, gain control of it, untap it, gains haste till end of turn. So you can basically just Act of Treason a card every single turn. And it's a 4/4 flyer. So, I mean, you can get rid of their blockers, you can just take their good attackers. It's just, they really, really need to answer it if they want to come back. So, this is a Dissension pack, and this is my pick 2. And there is just no card that is blue or red that's playable in this pack. Not even close. I can't remember what that does. Maybe, actually, that might be the enchantment, which is playable. It's just like you 4 mana enchantment, put on a dude, tap it to draw a card. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking of taking just this 4 mana 3/3 that when it enters the battlefield destroys a creature with Defender, because I mean, I may need a Hill Giant just to attack people. I don't have that many creatures, and I picked up those Magefire Wings, so if I want to play those, I need to find some more creatures between now and the end of the draft. So that wouldn't be such a bad idea, but I think I just ended up jamming a Trigon Predator because then nobody else can have it, and you never know. I mean, if I start getting past green card after green card after green card, then I might want to change colors. And I mean, honestly, if I had switched into blue-green, I don't think that my deck would have turned out that much worse, other than the fact that Dominus of Fealty is just such an awesome card, and it would have been a lot harder to play it because that would have been basically 5 blue mana, which is just a little bit ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I just grabbed the Trigon Predator, and I'm like, I don't know, whatever, at least I won't have to play against this card. But that card, I mean, Trigon Predator Suite is just basically a better Windrake. And I mean, here's a Beetle Form Mage, which is kind of what I was talking about. And then, other than that, there's a Crisis Incubation and a Runner's Bane, as well as a Maze Glider in this pack. And not too much else. Nothing in red, really, just Trouble, which is obviously not playable. I didn't really think of taking a card that I could splash. I mean, I do have the Land Cycler in Traumatic Visions, but I didn't bother try and look for that. So I think I ended up just taking the Maze Glider. I had to look through my packs because I was like, I know I'm red, but I can't remember why. And I was like, oh yeah, I just picked up a Dominus of Fealty, and that just really didn't want to make me leave red. So I end up narrowing it down to Runner's Bane and Maze Glider, and go with Maze Glider. I mean, this card isn't incredible, but just the 3/5 is kind of a giant stop sign, and you can just easily turn defense into offense, start swinging for 3 in the air. And this pack's pretty funny. There's a couple of Dissipates in it. One of them's foil, but there's also a Battleground Geist, and I think just the 3/3 flyer in my deck would be pretty good. My deck really changes throughout the next couple of packs, and I'm really glad, because at first when I was editing it, I didn't think that it recorded the last pack, but it turns out the file was just too big, because generally these drafts, draft portion goes about half an hour. This one was over an hour, and very understandably, because we just had to read all these cards and we didn't know what was going on. But anyway, I forgot. Here's where the first card, Notorious Throng, or whatever it's called, something like that. I thought that Prowl, it was for fairies because it makes fairy rogues, but it's for rogues, so you can only use the Prowl cost if you attack with a rogue. So I was looking at Zephyr Sprite here because it's a 1/1 fairy, and I was like, I don't know, I mean, it's an evasive fairy that can turn on my super cool card, and yeah, I end up taking the Lightning Elemental. I pretend to take the Zephyr Sprite, but I take the Lightning Elemental. I guess I just forgot to put it up on screen, sorry about that. But, I mean, it's just a 4/1 haste for 4, so again, it's just something that I can toss on my Magefire Wings on, or I have a Disperse, So, I could bounce it and do stuff like that. Some shenaniganry that way. I don't know why I didn't edit this part out, but yeah, we're we're just wasting time here sitting. You can see my wonderful knee. But at this point, after the first pack, I was looking at my cards and I'm like, you know what? I mean, there are 13 cards in this pack that I wouldn't be absurdly unhappy playing. Obviously, I don't want to play a 3-mana 2/2 and Mere Galvanizer, but it is a creature that I can go ahead and... Oh, there we go. There's Lightning Elemental. He's a little late, but... it is a creature that I can go get with my Fairy Mechanist, and my god, this pack is Planar Chaos, which, if you don't know, is a set, or maybe it's a block, an entire block, where they just released cards that don't make any sense. So generally, if you've been playing Magic long enough, you know that the red spells, they deal damage to stuff. Black ones, they kill stuff. Blue ones, they draw you cards, counter spells. Green one, just play giant creatures. And, I mean, blue also has flyers, white also has flyers, and then there are a lot of sub-themes like exiles and white. I don't know, there's a ton of that stuff. They completely changed the color wheel. So any of those things that I just mentioned, different colors could be able to do them. So, for instance, I'm about to pick a creature called Stink Scourger, which was actually in Modern Masters, so I was pretty familiar with it and how it plays. But it is a 2/2 with, when it enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So that's very blue. But, I don't know. Anyway, I'm in my blue-red deck here, and I see RTR, and I'm just like, oh, cool, I can draft an Izzet card. And then I see Thought Flare, which is just one of the best cards in that set, and it was really disappointing because it didn't fit in the Izzet sub-theme from Avacyn Restored, but, man, it was sweet. So I was about to take the Galvanic Alchemist here, just as like a 1/4 Horn Turtle blocker kind of dude, and that would have been fine, but I end up grabbing the Desolate Lighthouse, and I figure that my deck's probably going to be pretty slow, and being able to just cycle through some cards at some point without really much cost to my deck would be pretty sweet. The problem is, I actually don't think I should have run the Lighthouse because it doesn't let me cast Dominus of Fealty, and while that's not such a big deal, if you think about it, if it's one of the 5 first lands that I draw, then I'm basically waiting an entire extra turn to cast Dominus, and that really hurts. I mean, I want to be able to cast my best spell on time. So this is one of those cards that's really weird. It's Banishing Neck. It's an instant, and it says, until end of turn, target creature you control has tap, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So normally you would think that would be... It just looking at the card, it seems like a terrible card. It's like... It gives my creatures an ability for 1 turn, but I mean, it's just 1 mana, and it's basically an unsummon, so it's pretty interesting. But I decide not to run it in the end because I end up getting a couple more bounce spells. But the Runner's Bane comes back, which is pretty good. It's a decent card, and it's pretty decent in my deck. Anyway, one of the Dissipates comes back from the Innistrad pack, which was nice because I really could use an effect like that, just a way to deal with a creature outside of my 1 claustrophobia, because I have that Runner's Bane too. But yeah, I mean, the Zephyr Sprite comes back, big surprise, 1/1 for 1, not really going to be doing much to anyone, and I was actually pretty happy that it came back. And then here, there's a red card, which probably does nothing, and then Blight Speaker, and I knew that I shipped the Recumbent... No, not Recumbent Bliss. Was it Recumbent Bliss? Oh, maybe it was Recumbent Bliss. I thought it was the... I didn't even look, but in the first pack that I opened with Dominus of Fealty, I knew that there was the 2 and a white enchantment that enchanted creature couldn't attack or block. This is really funny. So what happened here is I opened 5th Dawn pack, and I opened a Staff of Dominance, which it's so funny. So we actually, since a lot of us didn't know the value of the cards that we were opening, we wrote down on a piece of paper all of the value of all the cards. I didn't do that. One of my friends did it, and every time that we opened a pack, we got a little paper, and we were just like, okay, so these are the cards that are over $5 in this pack. So I open my pack, and I see Staff of Dominance. I'm like, what does this thing do? I've never seen this card. I've never seen anyone play it. And then there's Paradise Mantle, which is, for some strange reason, a 6-mana uncommon from 5th Dawn. But I didn't really want to take it, and I saw that there was a Condescend in this pack, so I was like, all right, I'll take that. But I didn't even consult the sheet to look up whether Staff of Dominance was a value card, and it turns out it was like $10, which is pretty funny because I just shipped that along. But, I mean, passing a $10 card to make your deck a little better is not the end of the world. It's less value, I think Staff of Dominance would have been okay in my deck too. I'm just really not sure how good that card is. I saw one of my friends playing it who ended up picking it up, and it did not seem that good. I mean, I don't really. He lost one of the games where he had it out. He ended up going, I don't know, maybe 1-2 or 2-1. I don't know. I think he ended up going 2-1, but that's not the point. The point was that I think that it was an okay card, maybe not the greatest in his deck, but maybe I should have taken it anyway. I think I should have taken it just because of how expensive it was, but it's hard to tell. I don't know. Condescend's a pretty good card too. Just counter. You can basically counter a spell starting turn 2, and then you can just scry, and it seems really sweet. It's a fun card to play with. And now we get to Kamigawa. If I'm ever gonna do a twisted draft, I don't think that I'm gonna include Kamigawa because there's so many cards that are just completely unplayable in any other set. They have to, like, for instance, this rare is 2 mana tap. If you have 7 or more cards in hand, draw a card. Or, like, it's just draw a card, but only if you have 7 or more cards in hand. I actually end up picking a pretty sweet card from it. It's Barrel Down something or other. And it is 2 and a red for an instant that deals damage equal to twice the amount of mountains I return to my hand. So it's an interesting card, and sometimes it's a little awkward when especially it was really bad with Great Furnace at one point. I guess I probably shouldn't reveal that since I'm going to be showing you all the gameplays, but anyway, it's a funny card, and it's a pretty good card. I mean, it's just removal. When it comes down to it, I don't really have damage spells. I haven't seen any Incinerates or Lightning Bolts or anything like that going around, so just jamming that is pretty good. And here is Magic 2011. So here's just a Berserkers of Bloodridge that I'm looking at, and I'm like, I mean, I kind of needed just a creature, but because I still don't really, I mean, at this point I don't think I'm going to be running the Mage Firewings. I just want to try and find enough ways to win. And I was thinking of taking this Shiv's Embrace. First of all, I did not even know that Shiv's Embrace was a reprint. I thought that the first time it was printed was in this pack. But, I mean, I guess that makes sense that it wasn't earlier. But yeah, I don't really need to turn any of my creatures into Shivan Dragons. A lot of them already fly, and I just don't have that many. So trying to do Shiv's Embrace is probably not a great idea. So in the end, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the Unsummon. I don't really need it since I already have a Disperse and that Banishing Knack as well as the Sting Scourger. So I have a lot of bounce effects, but I figure, I mean, whatever. Unsummon will be fine. And if I can table this Berserkers of Bloodridge, that would be sweet. But yeah, I was about to take the Berserkers, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take a really mediocre 5-drop just to kill people. I'll be okay. So anyway, there's an Amphin Cutthroat, which is kind of interesting because oh my god, I just see this Divination and could not take it any faster. But Amphin Cutthroat's obviously a terrible card. In my deck, it's just a 2/4 for 4. I don't need that kind of effect, but it is a rogue, so that's pretty interesting. So anyway, Betrayers of Kamigawa, which is kind of interesting because when I was looking at the Kamigawa packs, I was like, man, these cards are so bad, blah, 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 blah. But in the meantime, I ended up picking a decent removal spell and a pretty good flyer, which is a 4-mana 2/3, and the first time it is targeted by an ability, counter that ability each turn. So if anything wants to happen, including me trying to equip my Bone Splitter to it, I have to do it twice. But if my opponent wants to use a removal spell on it, then they also have to do it twice. So I really like this card, and I'm very happy that I drafted it. It was a pretty sweet card. I didn't know it existed. So, I mean, that's really what this set's all about, right? Anyway, I just find this random 4-mana 4/3 lying around, so I'm never unhappy to grab one of those guys. I mean, usually 4-mana 4/3 in red. I mean, red is generally gets the second biggest creatures behind green, and green is like, yeah, all right, we're gonna get you a 4-mana 4/3. We can do this, but yeah. Anyway, this is the Gatecrash pack, and there are some sweet green-blue cards. Back to when I was talking about if I were in green, I don't know what would have happened. But, I mean, there's a Fathom Mage, a Shamble Shark, a Nimbus Swimmer, and then there's still a Spell Rupture, which I don't think it was Spell Rupture. I don't think that should have been the right pick, just because I don't have that many creatures. I ended up going with a Scorchwalker. I have a ton of bounce, and playing something like Scorchwalker just to punch in for some damage when I can take care of their creatures seems like a decent enough strategy, and it can just trade for something if I needed to. And then here's Dark Ascension, and guess what, guys? Got another Divination, so get to play 2 Divinations in my Twisted Draft. Not going to complain about that. I was definitely an exciting little thing there, and I was really happy to see that. And this is my 5th Dawn pack coming back around. No Paradise Mantle, no Staff of Dominance, but there's still this random Scimitar, which I'm not really sure how good it is. It's 3 mana, and you can pay 3 mana to animate it into a creature, a 1/5, or you can just pay 2 mana to equip it. And the thing is, you can actually do both. So you can equip it to a creature, but then it'll fall off once you animate it. So here's the Kamigawa pack. Nothing came around. I got a 2 mana 1/1 flyer, and I think it lets you return lands to your hand to untap something or some strange ability like that. But in the end, I was just looking through this pack and I was like, whatever, man. None of these do anything. Yeah, it's just return a land to its owner's hand, untap target land. So yeah, the Berserkers of Bloodridge came back around, which is sweet. I wasn't really expecting this, but I could have taken the Fling. I don't think Fling was that good, though. With Dominus of Fealty, it's sweet, but I mean, that's just one random effect like that. And here I pick up a Salamander Rogue, which is really the only two relevant parts about that card. And yeah, I mean, that's basically been the draft, and it was really fun to do, and the games were extremely fun to play. So I hope that you guys are going to stick around for the draft, and if you did make it this far, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed the draft. Have a wonderful day. Bye.